Hey guys, thanks for coming back, part 3, right? So, hope you're not getting too bored. To recap on that financing, there's those two main things that they're doing. So they're taking points on that gap between what you could actually qualify, say 5%. They will charge you as much as they can above that they can get away with, that they think they can get away with. And they're so good at reading people. One of the guys that I worked with had 30 years of experience of tricking people. And after that long of a period, a lot of these guys just start taking medications and stuff to numb themselves, because what they're doing is like they actually start to lose touch with connecting at all with people, and they become bitter inside because of these activities that they just continually find themselves compelled to do, to stay, to keep their job, to stay in that industry at all. And when they do that, it's really eating away at your soul. In a sense, you're giving up pieces of your soul. And the medications and different things just to kind of numb out, and literally that kind of just, it actually gave them even more power. So I watched this person just become so covert and so calm and so cool. He never got angry, never got upset, so totally mellow and level, but he was seething inside. Like, he would watch like hours of videos of chainsaw activity and like kind of deal, like, so he was coping in a way of like where he would almost be able to justify what he was doing by the bitterness of sort of like the jealousy, the envy that comes from not having a good life because you've chosen that path. And I watched that go down. So that was hard for me too, because I'm in this environment as a healer, and I can't really make a move towards that without kind of upsetting the whole environment too much. And then, it's not really my role. I need to make money and not get fired. So the other thing that I want to point out that you should know is that if you approach them right away, so let's say you get to a dealership and you're all proud because you got your loan, and you walk in, you're like, we're already pre-approved at our bank. They actually don't even want to work with you, because especially smaller dealerships where they don't have a lot of inventory, they don't care necessarily about turning over their inventory. I was really surprised to discover this, because I thought all of them wanted to turn their inventory over at every opportunity. But for them, it's like more liability, because they're kind of, they've got to do their inspections. They have to do all this stuff to get their inventory even out the door. And they'd rather just make a really, really big, large amount on a certain number of the inventory than clear it out. So when you go walking up and say, oh, I'm a cash buyer, and you're all suave about that, they don't give a shit. In fact, they might walk away and not even help you. And you're going to find that more in the smaller dealerships. But the financing managers have a lot of power. So the salespeople that, like, if I would have stayed at that initial place where I would have needed to learn how to manipulate the finance managers from knowing what was really going on until the end in order to get my deals through. And I was like, man, there's so many levels of bullshit that go on there. And that's just business as usual for dealerships. So you're not going to avoid that. Don't give away. So get your own loan, and don't give away that you got your own loan until you actually need to. If you sit down and let them put numbers on paper, say, okay, assume my credit rate is 700, make them put that down on paper. Don't give up your social security number. Go ahead and give them your driver's license or something. You probably did that to test drive the car. But try not to give up your personal information so they can't ding you with that. And you can say, well, we don't know, we might shop around still. We don't want to just have our credit all dinged to shit, and they know once you say that you're savvy on that. But it doesn't really give you that much more power either. So you actually get power if they try to work that payment and they start to kind of become attached to the idea of selling to you. And then at that point, they start to get their ego involved, where they want that deal closed, or they're going to feel like they failed. So when you cross that point, that's when you start to have some power with them, if that even makes sense at all. And don't worry about it if it didn't, it doesn't really matter. But so the other thing I want to talk about with dealership stuff, and this is what everybody and their brother, and you have stories in your families and so on, and it's the fucking shit where you drive away and the door falls off, or something weird goes ahead, or the alignment has an issue because it was an accident, but they give you a Carfax report that said it was fine. Well, first of all, a Carfax it should be Carfuck, because it's a friggin' joke. There was a 60 Minutes episode that you could probably Google and look up, and it's all about just how Carfax is a marketing scam. And every dealer will use it because they just love to say, look, it has a clean Carfax. And you're just the dumb buyer who trusts this guy because he has a goody two-shoes look on his face and he's wearing a nice crisp shirt. And so you get this Carfax and you don't want to argue with them and be like, well, what does that really mean? Because they're going to devalue your questions. And believe me, I know, because I get devalued all the time. So if you want to actually know about a car, you have to take it to a different mechanic, not theirs. So they're going to say, oh, we do a 75-point inspection. My ass. They do about a 10-pointer on maybe half the cars. And this is what I witnessed. They never had enough manpower in any of the dealerships that I worked to actually do what they pretended that they were doing. And that was all part of their marketing. You know, one company was all about that as far as their marketing. The other one would just charge more for inspections. And then they would give their service techs like 2 hours to go through a whole used vehicle. You know, we're talking like, I worked in an RV dealership too, and one of them was like, you know, they'd get like 2 hours to go through a whole entire RV while the customer was inside still, you know, signing papers and stuff. And it's like, well, how the hell are they supposed to do their job right? You know, and these RVs had been sitting on the lot for like the whole winter with the slide outs open with snow on them, so the slide outs weren't working. And then they just played dumb to it all and the customers drove away, got home, things don't work, they drive right back. And, you know, the smart customers drive right back, drop it right back off. But then they've already signed papers. There's nothing they can do. It's just a waiting game. And, you know, they try to create that pressure and threaten, I'm going to sue you if I don't get my camper. It's all a big shit show. Don't sign the papers. Do the walkthrough first. And they're not going to want to put it that way if you can't. And this is for RVs in particular because there's so much that doesn't work on them. And make sure you check out the most important parts of it, which are really like the fridge, especially if it's used. Oh my God, there's so much that can go wrong with them because they're little mini houses that have an earthquake every time they ride down the road. Extended warranty contracts are kind of bullshit, and I'll tell you why on those. Oh man, it's painful. But the reason why is because nobody wants to service RVs at all. So even if you have this beautiful contract, you got to go find a dealership that can fit you in. And that's something nobody really knows when they go out looking for an RV. They don't know that the whole industry has problems with service. And there's so much that goes wrong on them. They just sit in the shop for like 5 months. They'll sit through the whole camping season. The customers bought it in June. We're hoping to go camping, and it's still sitting there. And the service guys have to deal with the customers, and they're like, you know, like that's eating away at their soul, and they get treated bad. You know, and the whole thing is just, it's just like a shit show. I would just totally stay away from it completely. Don't even buy. If you can't, you know, if you're buying a new one, great, but you know, it's, you know, I mean, you know, it's just a toy. It's like a boat, pretty much. Boats, there's a saying, you know, the day I bought my boat was the best day of my life, and the day I sold it was the second best day of my life, because they're such a pain in the ass to maintain and take care of, and they always sit there and gnaw at you like, we should be out having fun in our boat. And, you know, but nobody wants to actually do the work to get it in the water. And then once you get out there, you're like, well, it's kind of hot and we're exposed. I'm getting a sunburn. And they're just kind of stupid. So, I mean, you know, okay, yeah, give me a yacht. I'll go out and sit in the bay and drink champagne on it. That sounds like fun. But, yeah, it's like, whatever. So, the other thing, so don't do your walkthrough or your papers until you know everything works in it. And make sure, if it's an RV, make sure you check the things that are costly to repair, and that's the slide outs and the fridge. Make sure all the doors are opening and closing properly, and that the axle's not bent and stuff like that, even on the new ones. On cars, you've taken it for a test drive, and you took it to a different service shop for an inspection. That's going to be your best bet. Or just know that you're taking that risk. Like, I could drive away and it could be a lemon. Just, if you know that and you're okay with that, great. Then you're still an educated buyer, just going, oh, well, it was only $10,000. I've got more money, I don't care. So the other thing is stalling. So one of the techniques that all dealerships will use is they'll just take their slow, sweet time on things, and that buying that time gives them means to all kinds of different things. One of the dealerships that I work with did what I call evil consignments, and they were consignments. So a good consignment would look like this. Yeah, we'll give you this price, and anything, we're willing to sell it between this range and this range, and whatever we get it for, we get 10% on, or whatever, right? Okay, that's a good consignment deal. The bad consignment deal, and it's actually not legal in real estate in most states to do this type of sale, because there's so many ways that you can take advantage of people, and the way that that's gonna look, and oh God, I saw so many sellers suffer. So they were totally taken advantage of on these consignment deals. And the way that worked is they would take them on a percentage basis. So they would tell the seller, okay, we'll take your car, we'll take it in at this price, and then whatever we get over that, we keep. But if we only sell it for that price, then you get all the money. Well, it sounds good, but if you actually think it through, they can manipulate that structure, and that's exactly what they do. So the people I worked for manipulated that structure. So they would take it in at the NAD's lowest retail. So the seller got, you know, the shock. Oh my God, I was hoping to get twice that. Well, that's pretty, it's just like a trade-in. You're just gonna get the shitty price. They kind of come to grips with it and agree to do it, and they leave it on the lot. They drive away, and they never hear from us again. So they start calling. We're like, oh no, it hasn't sold. No, it hasn't. Well, why hasn't it sold? Oh, it must be the market. I don't know. What's happening is it's been priced way out of the market, and it's a waiting game. So they're gonna wait until that seller is so frustrated that then they're gonna say, hey man, what's wrong, man? I'm trying to help you out. Let me go check with the boss and see if he'll maybe just buy it straight up. He goes to the boss, they make it, you know, and that's just a closed door bullshit. They're in there smoking cigars and drinking whiskey. And then they come out and say, you know, tell you what, we'll go ahead and buy it from you, but the market is pretty soft right now, or this or that, or there's something wrong with it, or whatever they make up. So we can only give you, so it was priced at 10, we can only give you 5. The seller has been waiting and waiting. It's been the whole summer, and now it's winter, and they're gonna have to take the stupid vehicle and find storage for it or whatever. So they agree to this price just to get rid of it. And this could be a really high number. I mean, I've seen this with like $80,000, where it's like, you're fucking with these people so bad. Some of the, you know, and I can't say for sure that I know this has happened, but I have suspicions that I've even seen sabotage done to the vehicles so that the sellers won't come pick them up because they want it repaired, and that buys more time, like oil spots on the carpet, things like that, where it actually buys, because then the seller's so mad and they're like, well, you have to clean those stains off the carpet or I'm not gonna whatever. And they're like, well, we'll get to it, don't worry, we'll get to it before we sell it. And the seller actually like becomes repulsed and doesn't want to pick up that beautiful vehicle anymore because they don't want to deal with it. They're so overwhelmed. And so there's like these dirty, snaky deeds that go on behind the scenes, and it's pretty sick. And if you don't think it's true, have fun. You'll get to learn the hard way. You know, I spent that time in the belly of the beast to offer you this video, so make use of it. Trust me on this. And that leads me to bring up, and I'll make this my last part, I think, here of the series, but go ahead and hit up to the next part and I'll tell you about the overall atmosphere of a dealership. All right.